have to give us a 3, 2, 1 or nothing. Hello, welcome back. My name is Ruth Ann.
I'm Chris.
We are Geek Chic Promotions. We've already had a morning. Happy Sunday fun day. Apparently, we just found out. You can see how stressed I am. My hair is like it's a mess. We just found out we've been signed out of all of our accounts.
Both of us.
So
by the way. Not just one of us.
Not just one, not just the other, but both of us. So I'm gonna share this around. It's okay if you guys can't join today, because what the shit?
Hell, man? What the hell?
Like, I can't even sign into our, like, the only thing that we were able to sign into is our YouTube account from her phone. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I don't know what's happening.
So we're sitting here trying to figure out why Ruth Ann was logged out of the Geek Chic page on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
And so we're just stumped. We're like over and over and over again trying everything we can think of to get her back into it. And we're baffled, completely baffled. And so she's like, well, it's okay. I'll just do YouTube and then you do Facebook on your phone and we'll just like jerry rig this up. And I was like, all right, fine. So she goes to YouTube. She's logged out of YouTube. Can't get back in. I go to the Facebook page. I can't get back in. We're both logged out.
No idea.
We can see the page.
Yeah.
It's just, it doesn't belong to us anymore for some reason.
It's very confusing. So I'll share this on Facebook.
Make sure you tag me so it goes on the mind. Like this is like
it's like we keep going backwards in our time. But wait, hold on. Let's just Aperol Spritz. Good morning. Cheers.
Morning. Wow.
At least that's absolutely delectable. Even if
good.
Life is so confusing right now.
Jeez. This is just...
Well, I hope you join us, whoever is out there on this Sunday fun day. It's been a minute.
And also, we should just be upfront about this, but like there's very little planning done before this nerd rage.
We decided to bring back stuff before we were like ready. I feel like there's just been so much going on, but we're just it's nice to be back, and like to all those fans out there that have been like reaching out to say like, this is so exciting, you guys are back. It feels like we're back in the industry. It does, that warms our hearts. Thank you so much.
It's true. So we were going to talk about the episodes of Ahsoka that dropped.
Yes.
And I did watch Rebels.
Rebel. So you watched all 4 seasons?
No, I did not. There's no way I could.
I was gonna say. I mean, like
I watched season 1 and the back half of the last season just so I could
kind of get the feel. Yeah.
Pick it all up. Yeah.
Ooh, okay. So. Let's definitely talk about that because that must be a really interesting way to like see this show.
It was weird, but also like. You can pick up on what happens. Like, you can pick up.
I really look forward to talking to people about Ahsoka that didn't see any of Rebels, because I'm wondering like how it feels. Like, does it feel completely like out of left field? Does it feel like you're like, oh, I mean, like I get it, you know? I'm just making sure there's no chats. There we go. Okay. Because it is literally, like, now that you've seen the last episode of Rebels, like, the scene that we end on in Rebels is the same exact scene that we end on the second episode, which is like, yes.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, too, because, it was a little weird for me, because first of all, I wasn't that crazy about the animation style, and so I was a little bit like, It took a bit to get into it, but then you get into it.
I posted the wrong one.
Fantastic.
Sorry, continue.
So anyway, when I watched Ahsoka, it was actually really cool to see, like, I already knew the characters, and it was really cool to,
see them in real life. Like, they did really good on the casting.
Really good on the casting, and also, like, it was really neat to feel like I was a part of it already, and not just coming in cold watching Ahsoka and having not seen anything else before, which you're totally fine doing that, by the way. Like, you don't have to watch, the animation in order to, it's nice. Like, it's actually, you just know more about the story, so it's pretty cool. That's all. And yeah, so, did you want to tag Geek Chic so people know?
I don't know how to share it to Geek Chic if we're not a part of it.
You just tag it, right?
I would, maybe, I don't know if it'd show up. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But so yeah, and it's interesting. Like, so for you, you saw the first season of Rebels, and the animation for the first season of Rebels is a little rough. But then, like, I can't, like, for you going straight to like the last half of the last season, how much of a huge jump that was in animation.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. It's kind of funny because, I mean, it's the same thing in comics. Like when you read a series and it starts off and everything's all like shaky and everything, and then, you know, you see the artists grow, you know, as they get into their groove. And so, you know, you draw something over and over and over again. And it's so funny. I've never really seen that with animation. But when you have an opportunity to watch, you know, seasons like that and be like, oh, look at how they start off, you know, clearly the animators got into their groove a little bit better. And it was really great. And yeah, it was really cool to see it. And maybe that's why I didn't mind it so much. Like, you know, by the time I finished watching it, because I watched, I think, the last 5 episodes, I think, of the last season. So
and it's funny with me and Rebels. So like absolutely true. The first season, like the animation is a little rough, but then it's season 2. It's not only the animation, but the DP, whoever, like everything just like works together so much better. But I, for the longest time, refused to watch the last season because I knew I could tell who was gonna die. You know what I mean? And I couldn't do it because I'm so sick and tired, especially when the 2 people who really deserve love and deserve like to be together finally get together and then one of them just die. Like I hate that trope so much. So it took so much for me, and it's an epic death though.
And it's like, well, it's also predictable. So
it's very predictable.
The only thing they
still
can do is make it epic because like it's so set up, you know. So which also I do not like as well, because it's just like, you know, which we went into when we were watching Blue Beetle. Like immediately you're just like, oh, that person's gonna die. You know, like they're setting this person up.
Exactly. Like okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
So there, and it's interesting too because of the animation style that made stuff very simplified. Like for example, the Loth Cat. I love the Loth Cats so much. Like I've been addicted to them since watching Rebels because I love that their beady little eyes are so gross. Like they shouldn't be cute. They're so freaking cute though. And I think they did such a good job, and I kind of love, and I'm wondering how much like younger people who grew up on CGI characters feel about it, because like for us that grew up with everything either being animatronic or claymation or whatever, I loved the Loth Cat. Like, I love how it looked. I loved how it moved.
Yeah,
like,
I liked it too.
It was so cute. I want one.
Yeah, that was actually, you know, one of the things that I was like actually like pleasantly surprised when I was watching Ahsoka. I was like, oh look, you know, like you know, and especially because it played like a really relevant part in Rebels. So I was like, oh wow, this is like really cool. Like they, now if I had just come in cold and just watched Ahsoka, I wouldn't have had those feelings.
Yeah.
You know,
and
it's actually, that's what interested me. I was like, well, look at this, you know, like and I was very much into analyzing like what I knew versus what I wouldn't have known.
Yeah.
And how I would have felt. And I think I definitely would have enjoyed Ahsoka anyway if I hadn't watched Rebels, but I think I enjoyed it more because I did watch Rebels. So,
yeah. There was so many things. Like I loved. I mean, they were pulling everything out from like in the first 2 episodes. Like they dropped in some of the Purgle, like the space, you know, guys. I liked, and I really like what they did with everybody's design. It's funny, like the little things. Like I don't like Hera's makeup.
Okay.
Like the eyeshadow, like it's like too much. And sometimes, like even at the end, Sabine's makeup was a bit too much for me, but Sabine has always looked like that's kind of how she, like she's just one of those characters that like she just always makes sure her makeup is done before she goes on an adventure, you know. Like that's like that I was okay with.
And she also like, doesn't she get a haircut at the end too, where she's just like, look at me.
Yeah,
you know,
because she always had her hair like pretty short during Rebels for the helmet, and like, and that's a whole fun aspect of it as well. Like it's so incredible to watch how much Filoni is now taking over Star Wars, you know,
and he's doing a great job.
A great job. Yeah. I mean, even starting with Clone Wars, which is the thing that changed the prequels. Like that show, because it came out was it right after the second movie or right before the second movie? So they actually started writing stuff in by the second movie, third movie of the prequels. It was something like that.
I don't remember. I'll be honest.
But they were adding like, so they add, I know like, because General Grievous comes from the Clone Wars cartoon. They brought Grievous into the prequels, like all that kind of stuff. So how incredible is this for Filoni of like, all right, now I'm Star Wars. Let's go.
And it's kind of great because, watching the evolution of Filoni has been fascinating to me. Because at first I thought, oh, he's just kind of like assisting, and you see, like, you think, you're not attributing the success to him. And then all of a sudden, he's on his own. And you're like, oh, this was the guy.
This was the guy the whole time.
This was the guy the whole time. Yeah, it's
and I love
really
that him and like Favreau are like best friends.
Yes.
So it's just like, let's save Marvel, let's save Star Wars, let's
and
go.
I feel like Favreau was the one that was getting credit for all of it, and I think he was just, I'm sure he was part of it, of course, but I think he knew Filoni. He was like, here, we're gonna do this together. We're gonna start off like this, and then I'm just gonna go.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go Marvel.
Yeah.
What's up?
So,
what's up?
Yeah, which I think is great. That's a very good collaboration there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And it's funny. So the notes that I've seen from people that it seems like they didn't watch Rebels is that they're like, God, the first 2 episodes were so slow. And I was like, you have no idea like how much emotion are in these episodes because of like what we left off on.
Yes, for sure.
Because like, oh, Ezra, God, they casted Ezra so good too.
Yeah, they did. That was actually, yeah.
I'm really, so, okay, theory time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid that Ezra was trained to be one of the people that hunts down, like he's been brainwashed and is one of the people that's been hunting down Jedi, like in Rebels, and I can't remember the name of what they call them once they're trained to do that. But what if he's the dude in the mask? The dude that Ahsoka was fighting like at the shipyard when she was trying to stop that ship from taking off.
Do you think Ezra is?
What if that's Ezra? Sorry, mind blown. I'm just saying. What if that's Ezra? I'm worried. I think I don't know.
Yeah. I'll have to.
How shitty would that be if he's like right next to him the whole time?
Right. Yeah. I'll think about that.
Right.
As we keep going.
Yeah. So like everybody else, I want to hear your thoughts. If you what you think, because. Yeah.
Nobody's watching.
Nobody's watching. Well, there's one person. It might be me. I think it's just me watching.
It's you.
Hot. Wait, now I wanted to go in the chat. I'm watching you.
We're just gonna have fun talking to ourselves right now. This is hilarious. Everyone's probably like, "Where are these guys?" Yeah.
Oh
God, this is. Yep.
Yep.
So
this tracks. But all right, so specifically with these episodes, let me see like the other notes that I took when I was watching it, because I'm loving things taking time, like to ruminate, because that's one thing we've gotten too used to in this very binge culture, is that we need things to move very fast. And what I appreciate about Star Wars, and especially the TV shows of Star Wars lately, is that they're becoming much more of westerns. Like that was the best part of Mandalorian.
For sure. Absolutely.
Is that it was like, let's slow down. Let's like, now here we go. And I really love these 2 episodes. And I think it's the perfect setup. Like as soon as she and have you seen the comparison videos where it's literally shot for shot? The last part of Rebels is the last scene.
I didn't see the comparison, but I did
Yeah.
because I literally
just watched it. Yeah, I know this.
It was like, I think, what was it, 6 p.m. I think that it premiered over here. Mm-hmm. I finished the last episode at 6:30 and went right into it.
Nice.
So yes, and so I didn't watch the comparison videos, but I was like, well, holy shit, because it was like fresh right there. Yeah. So.
And it was really cool too for me, because I went to Star Wars Celebration in London and they had that displayed.
Really?
The with the 2 wolves in them. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I got to stand next to that. That's neat. That's cool. See, not much about Star Wars Celebration I liked, but I like that.
Yeah. I heard that it was pretty shitty.
Yeah. Shit, let's do this as a rage.
All
okay,
right.
So as people who have ran and organized conventions, it is difficult to impress us. I admit, like, especially when it comes to programming, we try not to be those people, but we're absolutely those people.
And I have to tell you, okay, so next weekend is a convention, right? And a lot of people I know are going to it. And
Dragon Con.
it's not Dragon Con.
It's not Dragon Con. That's not what we're talking about.
It's the other one.
Speaking of people that screwed us over.
Yeah.
Anyways,
and so literally someone just said to me, God, now I know why you don't like cons anymore. And it's like, you know what? And as you know, just to lead into this, when you're working a con the entire time, it's
very different.
It's difficult.
It's very different.
You don't get to see the con. You're just at your table, like from open to close, and you're hustling.
Yeah.
Because you have to not only make up the cost of your table, the cost of being there, the cost of food, the cost of everything else. Then you want to make money on top of that. So you're breaking even plus. Otherwise, it's pointless to go. So it's really hard. So you got to get, your backdrops. You got to get your banners. You have to get anything that you're displaying on TV.
Oh yeah, and that's such the simplest of booths. Like you've done the big booths when it comes to like a whole huge build out, and then you have to deal with the like unions
and all
and
that other stuff. Yeah. So anyway, now as an attendee, so like I will say that working a booth has been very different than working programming. Like when me and Chris worked programming, it was the most work I've ever done at a convention because we were literally on our feet running around the entire time. It was really cute whenever somebody would ask if we had lunch. That was adorable. There's no eating. You just go. I would have to remind this one to use the freaking bathroom. Like there was just like no time for anything. I would hold it the entire day.
The entire day.
Every 20 minutes a new panel was starting.
Yeah.
And you have to set it up.
And you got to set it up and you got to make sure everybody has their date tab. And
in like 10 different rooms.
Oh my God. So many. It was so many. It was so much fun. But like I still felt like I was a part of the con.
Yes.
When I'm locked behind a booth just selling shit, I hate it. Like I can't like connect with people. I'm not like, and especially when we were creating some of the amazing panels that we were, it was like I could still like peek in and see a little bit what's going on.
Yeah, you could totally see.
Like,
you pop in for 5 minutes, you count the attendees because you want to make sure, it's worthwhile to do again. And and you get to talk with the people on the panel ahead of time, and you welcome them, and you ask them if they need anything, and you chit chat, before the panel starts.
Yeah.
So it's like you're still part of things.
You're still part of things. You can connect, all that kind of stuff. So my issues with Star Wars Celebration now, the Star Wars Celebration that I went to was in London, which is at the Excel Center. What I did not realize until this convention, there are no panel rooms in that convention center.
How? What?
Yeah. I know. What they do is they just like take sections of like show floor and just turn them into rooms. But this does not work for exactly. They just let that ruminate for a little bit.
Trying to envision this. I'm like,
what? Terrible idea. Terrible. Yeah. So then for Star Wars Celebration, most people are just this is what's so frustrating about that show. So I did not go to the one that was in Anaheim. I had tickets, but then I went and had to work another show instead. So I did not get that experience. And that experience I heard was much better because obviously the Anaheim Convention Center is very much set up for panel rooms and even large panel rooms like you need. So Star Wars Celebration, all there is to do is to see the exclusive panels, right? Which there's like 4 big ones basically.
Which everyone's going to try to go to.
Everybody's going to try to go to. And they did do the thing that I appreciate that, like, ever since Hall H at San Diego, people have been doing really well, where it's like a lottery, all this kind of stuff. But the depth thing was, I just bleeped myself, I love it. I got no panels. And, like, I was in there early. I had bought my tickets, like, forever ago. I was like, bam, bam, thank you, ma'am. 0. And other people I knew got all 4.
What the...
And then when the worst part was when I saw the actual like where they were, there was maybe 50 seats. What?
Okay, see that part bothers me,
right?
Because that happened to me where, like at WonderCon once, where like you queue up and you have to wait for like the really popular panels, and then they're like, okay, this is as many as we can allow in. So now if people leave, like you're at a bar, and they're like, but they shuffle you into an extra spare room, and so you're just sitting in a room waiting to see if people will leave, so you can get in to see maybe part of the panel. I was so pissed off that I was like, I'm not ever going to a panel again here. Like, literally, I was, like, ready to burn the place down. Like, and all I wanted to do was see Invader Zim.
Yeah.
I wanted to see Invader Zim.
Oh, no, we got too excited. Sorry.
We got the dog row.
Sorry, Scully. But, yeah, so, like, not only that, right? So I was just like, okay, like, fine, I don't get to see any panels, whatever, I'll just get like dressed up and I'll go like take pictures, because I was also doing like this one, I'm still brand managing for an artist who's very like Star Wars centric, so I was like taking pictures of him and very Star Warsy type stuff. But I was like, at least I'll be able to buy cool stuff, right? No. They only, at Star Wars Celebration, they only allow licensed IP merch, which for some reason is the worst merch. It's the worst merch. It's like,
well, it's not like that, but I feel like they don't license enough.
They don't, because
Like,
they're
it's like,
so,
it's like they're so, it's weird. I don't even want to say picky, because they're not picky.
I couldn't even buy a lightsaber at Star Wars Celebration.
Wow.
What?
Yeah, that's weird.
So that was the other thing, is that the people that were licensed, they weren't selling on the show floor. Like, you had to like do this whole thing of like a QR code and then get a ticket and then buy it online. I was like, Hasbro has this really cute Chopper, and I'm obsessed with Chopper. And I don't know if you got to see some of Chopper's best work. He is a sociopath of a robot. Like, they've actually done the math. He has murdered more people than any other character in the Star Wars universe.
I think I read that somewhere.
I love Chopper so much. And the best thing of Chopper is, and Filoni is still voicing it, but he didn't tell anybody that he was voicing it until literally the final panel of Rebels, after like the show had ended. And he's like, should I tell him, guys? It was me the whole time. It's so great. I love Chopper, and I was so excited. I was like, oh, Hasbro. They were like, I want that. And they're like, okay, cool. What you do is, I'm like, you're saying a lot of words. I want that. Why are you here? Why is anybody here? So there's so many people who weren't allowed to sell on the show floor. Like, they just had booths for like display, and I was so frustrated. The one good thing, they sold alcohol. That's all I got. Like, that's.
So do we think it's that way everywhere, or just the one in London?
That's what I've heard, is it's pretty similar, like everywhere.
Because I've never been to the one.
I heard that the Anaheim one was better specifically for the panel situation.
Sure.
But they still didn't allow anybody to sell stuff. Like, I think people could physically sell stuff that were allowed to be there. And that's the other thing too, artists.
You might as well, okay,
Yeah.
So if they're having it in Anaheim, you might as well just go to Disneyland and go to Galaxy's Edge, because you could get better merch, and it costs about the same amount of money.
Yes.
And like, you could also visit Oga's Cantina, and
Yeah.
you could have like blue milk and shit.
And again, like, I'm absolutely spoiled from working cons and living right next to Disneyland. But there's so many times, like, even because Disneyland has the dice of the Sabacc set.
Yeah.
And they have it at Disneyland. It's really great quality. It's like whatever it is, $15, $20, whatever. And we found this one shop that was selling them, and they were like $30 and was not as good quality. I'm like, well, might as well just go back to Black Spire and get them there. This is weird, whatever. So I ended up having a great time anyways. Like, I just would always come later. Like, we would always come like after the panels had let out, because it wasn't so packed.
Sometimes
and, like,
it's not the convention that makes the convention. Like, I'll be honest, like, San Diego, man, like, I don't go for the convention. Like,
yeah, it's the outside stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that was the thing, too. There was no events. Right?
I don't even know.
And it's just like, and that's what's so hard about us, who like not only ran events, all that kind of stuff, but we like integrate events around it so that like,
we would try to do an after party, and
we did a pre-party, an
after
after
party, drink and draws, like all that sorts of stuff. So there was always plenty of stuff happening, so people just wouldn't end up, like being like, where's everybody going tonight? Because that's like a huge problem where you're like, okay, we don't know the bar that everyone's winding up at. So like, what do we do? Just kind of walk around aimlessly and like try to figure things out? Nah,
there wasn't even like groups like to reach
and
out
also,
to. I just
like this whole thing where it's like exclusive, where like, I mean, I get that there's like a person count where you have to stop letting people in, but the whole thing like in San Diego where it's just like, my God, you have to research the events ahead of time, and
like
it's so
6 months
hard
out,
to get into any of these events that I almost wonder who the hell is going, because everyone I know winds up at like the Hilton Bayfront.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, so who's going to these parties?
Yeah,
like it's none of us, and we all work in the industry.
Yeah,
so,
who's going?
Yeah.
I think it's now like, oh, screw it. Let's touch on this topic.
Okay.
Nobody's watching. Let's go.
No,
Oh, we have one extra person. Hello.
We were up to 3.
Oh man, shit. Let's get refocused. Hold on. All right. Let me just. There we go. Okay. So let's talk about how influencers have affected Comic-Cons.
Oh.
Because that's who's invited to the parties.
Yes, you're right.
It's not the people who work it. It's literally the actors or the whoever's like the faces, and then the influencers. And especially at San Diego Comic-Con this year, when no actors were like doing shit to promote, it was absolutely the influencers, because those are the people that aren't in unions. You can still pay to like
that. Yeah. Okay.
I was like, let's go.
If you're an influencer and you're going to a party with other influencers, what is that?
It's just a networking influencer party. Like, that's what's really hard. Is that like they're doing their thing. Like, that's just what they're there for. They're there for the pictures, the videos, the content, to be able to tag it and know that the company that brought them in is going to share it.
Look, I'm not going to say that, like, influencers suck or anything like that, because
We're gonna get canceled.
Yeah, because they do serve a purpose. Like, they do. There's a reason why they're influencers. But I swear to God, I almost blame the people holding the parties more than the actual influencers.
Yes.
And I do not think that's like, and I know, okay,
Absolutely.
so from us planning parties,
yes,
we did keep an eye on who was high profile enough, but it was like a limited amount of like high profile people to just attract the rest. Like, it wasn't,
and then just
like,
throw a baller party that everybody would. So like,
I mean, you don't want a party where no one's there but like fans, like, because then it's just fans being fans, and it's like there's nothing there, for the fans.
Yeah, like, obviously, like you always want to make. We're gonna slightly give away some of our secret sauce, but not all of it. So like when you create an event, you want it to be that every type of group has the space that will have the most fun, right?
Right.
So you have, for the general populace, you have either great music, great food, great drinks, whatever it is, and like you have a photo booth, you have this, you have that, right? What people who are working the cons and are professionals, what they need is a slightly quieter space.
Yes.
Where you can sit and actually hear each other and like sit, but still have great
catch up with friends that are from all over the world that are finally all together.
Yes.
Yes.
Because
have
as you know, with
yeah.
most of us who work conventions, is sometimes, even if we live in the same town as somebody else, the only time we see them is at these conventions, which sounds so weird, because like living in, like, sometimes New York Comic Con is the only time that we see some of our friends from LA. Like, it's weird. Like, it just, that's how it works. So you want to have a space that's like good for the professionals who've been working all day. They just want to sit. They like, but still have the option to go dance, do whatever with like that crowd. But you want to set up the spaces that will make everybody have a good time. And that way everybody's just talking about, it doesn't, like, it's so simple. I don't know why there's so many shitty events going on. I don't know.
Because shitty people are running them.
Oh, hey, let's make some more drinks. So going back to like what you said, it is the people that are organizing them, because like, you find this all over the industry, whether it is events, film, TV, all this kind of stuff. So many people that are in the heads of stuff are only focused on the mathematical equation that'll make them more money, and not necessarily why those things make money. So you can go all the way back to the first G.I. Joe movie. Iron Man 1 had just came out, and so they're like, yeah, just make them in suits like Iron Man, right? Like, let's have nanotech that's green. Why is nanotech always green? I need to know. Somebody explain to me, why is nanotech always green? Why? It makes no sense. Wouldn't they be silver, right, Skelly? They should be silver at most. Anyways. But it was just like this mathematical equation that doesn't work. Like, okay, well, what will make this party great? We'll just have a lot of influencers here. And I'm not going to call out, there's one specific event person who does these events where every time I'm like, why am I even on the VIP? It doesn't mean anything. Like,
that's terrible.
Like, why am I even here? It's like I'm buying my own drinks and just hanging out with everybody else. And like, yeah, there's a red carpet. It's not what, like, and again, I get it, it's just for content, like all this kind of stuff. And they have these whole areas just for influencers who are literally there for 10 minutes to take their videos, take their pictures, and then they bounce. And then I hang out with the real crew who just like, you know what I mean? It's like, what's the point? What's the point? Might as well have just called my friends and just got together separately.
It's true. Yes, you're right.
Right?
No,
Like,
you're absolutely right. And I think that's also an important part is that what we've tried to set up is when you're throwing a party, you know, sure, like, you don't have to have an open bar, but if you're going to do VIP, at least have some kind of allotment. Drink ticket, maybe 2 free drinks. Like,
I want to give away the secret sauce, but I'm not going to. It's so simple. It's so simple of how you have a VIP open bar, and it's so frustrating where people don't do it. I guess we just have to start doing it again.
oh,
I know. It's one of my favorite things of Chris. So, like, when we're doing, because she, as much as she complains about this stuff, she loves it. She loves it. Like, when we were doing events and when we were doing the program paneling for 5 to 6 different conventions a year across the U.S., where we had up to, like, 20 panels a day, like crazy amount of work that like this woman was taking on, right? We would get to the day and like always fires to put out. Sometimes literal. That's a whole different story. Put a pin in that. Like,
you know, when like
literal fire.
influencers just want a little fog to make their videos more ambiance.
Cosplayers wanted smoke and anime
Let's
fandom.
start a freaking fire. Anyway, we're so off topic here.
But like we're putting out literal fires. Like it's so stressful, guys. Like the stuff and whenever we were working a con, one of my favorite things would always happen is people would ask, "How's it going?" And we would just have a big grin and go, "Great."
Great.
No matter what.
Yep.
You could tell the fear in our eyes sometimes that it was not that good. But either way, there was always a big smile. It's great. Everything's great. So many fires to put out. I remember there was one time she's like, "Man, why do we do this? Why do we do this? It's so stressful, this, that, the other. Like, we always have to put out fires. Like, it's just nothing but torment for us." And I was like,
stressful.
you know what it is because that high we get whenever it works.
Is.
Whenever it works. Whenever we put everything together.
When everything is done and everything was pulled off, all the fires have been put out, and everything is over with, and everyone comes up to you, and it was like, "Oh my God, that was amazing."
Or even like once it's like the event or whatever is at that great median where like everything's okay and like everybody's having a good time. You just look at each other like, "Fuck yeah, we did this.
We did it."
That's what it is. Like as much as she talks about how much she hates it, she loves that little.
But now I'm like getting older. I'm no spring chicken anymore. I don't know if I can handle the stress of events. Like I'm just like, and I remember wanting to get out of events so bad because I was like, I can't do this anymore. The stress is killing me.
But I think what's killing me now is that nobody's doing them right.
I know. And also you see other people like in like following our path. And so they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm doing this now." And it's like all the people we knew when we were doing events, and they all decided to just go into this.
Or some of the people that we like lifted up, and they like went off in this direction. You're like, you didn't listen to me at all.
Yeah, it's
you
just
didn't.
like,
You didn't hear.
Okay, yeah. But and people will hire them, and they're not going to get as good as they could, you know. And that kind of bothers me a little bit. But also, people don't know. Like people, they're gonna go for cheap. They're gonna go for, you know, "Oh, you're more cost effective," and you know, it's just
You get what you pay for.
You do. You get
at the end of the day, and I think across the board when it comes to everything geek pop culture related, we sometimes forget what is the draw. And the draw is the magic of like bringing people together of something they love and all this kind of stuff. And again, executives, people in the higher ups, they go for the mathematical equation that will equal what they see is like successful. Blue Beetle is a great example. Like, yeah, if you look at it, sure, it follows a pretty like standard superhero path, but it gave you all the juice and the organic families that like just important
here's
stuff.
The issue with that is the fact that people didn't show up for it. Like it's not doing well, and that kind of pisses me off because it's like, hey, all you people who wanted, you know, your Latino leads and an entire movie created by Latinos, run by Latinos, starring Latinos. Well, you got to show up. You have to show up to the theater. Like, you really do. Like, otherwise, like, this is the whole reason why they're like, well, this didn't work. And it's a good movie.
It's my favorite DC movie by far.
It's a shame. It really is. Like,
it's one of my top. It's like in my top 3 of superhero movies, and it's my absolutely DC best movie to me. And what I'm hoping is it's going to be similar to Elemental, because Elemental had the same type of thing where it didn't do well, and then the Korean community came up behind it. So by the time it came to it pumped it up and it did better. So I'm hoping. I went to go see Blue Beetle again. So like, I've tried to add my little like $10 in there, you know.
Bless your heart.
But wow. You're from Chicago. You're not allowed to use that southern sass, ma'am. Jeez.
Wow. Well.
Yeah, I think now that we're dealing with, and I'm glad that the strike, they're coming to the table with more discussions and more options. Nothing yet.
This has to end.
But as soon as this goes through, like VFX has already started to strike. Like they're unionizing, which is good. I'm still shocked that VFX hasn't started.
They hadn't, and which they need to.
No, they started during these discussions. They have, which is a perfect time because they're like, yay, the writers and the actors are back, but all of your VFX and like CGI are gone. Good luck.
Which, prompts me to say you should read our latest Substack because it's all about the strikes. And our interview with Christian Gasset Villar.
Yes.
Goes through, he's part of the Visual Effects Society.
Yes.
He is part of the Animation Guild.
I mean, if you don't know who this guy is, for Star Wars fans, he's the reason we have the double lightsaber.
Yes,
period.
it's true. He created Darth Maul's lightsaber,
Yep.
which I probably should have said somewhere in there, but I didn't when we interviewed him. And he goes through the strikes and what it means and what people are looking for and how, AI is affecting everything. And he literally goes through it step by step and then also takes a moment to talk about Barbie and Oppenheimer. So it's a pretty great interview, and I encourage everybody to check out our Substack and read it because we're going to have more interviews coming up. I have another one scheduled for next week. I do, with Ray Anthony Height, and so he's going to be talking about his Midnight Tiger Kickstarter and also his many, many years in the comic book industry, working at Marvel and everything else, and so I hope that everybody tunes in for that one. So
yeah, we're definitely. I know we're coming in back to Geek Chic and like obviously our technical stuff, and that's on me for all the technical stuff is going awry. But like I think this is a really important time that we bring back the heart of what it is in comics, and because like I'm gonna be honest, I've been losing it recently. Mm-hmm. Like the comics broke me like movement is all across like several events that I've been to where there's like other industry people in the comic book industry, we've talked about the same thing. It's like I am so close to go like just leaving it alone because I keep getting burned. And the thing about the comic book industry is there's so much heart and soul in it, no money. Mm-hmm. So you have to be prepared, like, you know what I mean? Like that you're going into this not for money, for the heart and soul of it. And the minute money gets involved in it, that's when like you just have to deal with the shittiest of people in this industry. And it's really hard.
It's true. And as someone who's worked in the industry now for 20 years, and, and honestly, half my time was like bad and half of it is good. So, and I'm not even half. I would even say like maybe like a quarter of it was bad. The rest has been okay. It's just, you're in it for the love. You're not in it for the money or the fame or anything else because, being popular in comics like is such a niche thing. Like you can talk to anybody else in the real world and they're not going to know who the hell you are unless you're a comic book fan. And so it's like we're not doing this for any other reason other than the love.
And unfortunately the comic book industry is doing something very similar to the film industry, all that kind of stuff. It's like, well, this guy is popular, we're going to hire them. So instead of like always going for the story, the content, this kind of thing, it's like, well, they're a hot ticket right now. They have a lot of
they have to sell copies.
I was about to say Twitter followers, I guess X followers. That's still such a terrible name for that freaking app. Because now I have to call them X followers. That sounds like I'm saying they're no longer my followers.
Yeah, but no one's on there anymore.
It's true.
It's like a ghost town now. It's really weird. And then you go on there, it's like only the toxic people are left. But anyway.
Sorry.
So I have not picked up a comic book to actually read in a very long time. And I work at a comic book publisher. And so I read the stuff literally that I work on. And that is it. And it's sad because every Thursday, there's a whole group chat about what everybody picked up and what everybody's reading and this and this and this. And honestly, I have zero interest. Like, and it's very sad, because I know it's probably some really good stuff, but it's almost disheartening because it's like I know how much this person is making, and I know how much labor is put into it, and I can't divorce my brain from like that while I read it.
Yeah.
And all I can do is feel sad. And that's horrible.
All I have is sadness.
Yeah, unless they're like hugely popular, and if they're hugely popular, then it's overdone. It's like, okay, like how many times am I going to read a Scott Snyder book? How many times am I going to read like a Bendis book? Like it's all the same to me.
Yeah.
You know, it's nothing different, nothing unique. You know, so I'm looking for the fresh voices, and that right there is the sad part because I'm like, oh, they're breaking in and they're so good. And they're not going to make any money for like 10 years.
Because the only way you can break in is breaking your back.
Yeah.
Not getting paid well. And then by the time you're paid well, it's
you can't do it full time unless you have a partner that is supporting you, or like
she's pointing at me. I'm not a
no
partner.
like she's not my partner.
We made it very clear with our person when we were still with GeekChic. It's like, so you said domestic partner. I have to tell you, and he's like, no, it's that you're a partnership and you happen to be domestic to U.S. You're not. I'm not saying that. I'm like, oh, okay. Whew. Just be very honored.
I was just gesturing. It wasn't to
I know. I just want to be clear for those watching.
Yes. Anyway. You can't make it your full-time job.
No,
that was
can't.
the other point I was going to make. You either have to have a partner that's supporting you, or you have to work another job.
Living with your parents, whatever
it is.
Living
with your parents, whatever it is, it's a tough gig.
And it is, and it's so sad because it is the heart and soul of the geek pop culture world.
Yes,
like
just
everything.
yesterday, I was asked if there is a producer who has a lot of money and was like, "Oh, hey, so are you publishing any, Latino lead comics?" And I said, "Yeah, we totally are." And they were like, "Okay, well, we got money, so can I see it?"
Can I have some?
Sure.
Can I?
Yeah, and so there is a total opportunity. However, you cannot get into comics on the hope that your book is going to get picked up by a studio and made into something, because the chances of that happening are slim to none. And those who do get it, maybe, okay, you're going to work on this book for like, let's just say 1 year. Okay, let's say you're going to put out 12 issues in 1 year, right? And you're going to work on it.
We're about to depress so many
I know.
people.
And you're going to work on it for like half a year before it even starts getting released. So by the time you get to issue 6 and you've got somebody, who is interested in it, they're going to pay you like $5,000 to option it if you're lucky. Even if you get all the way up to, let's just say, $30,000. You've already worked on that book for an entire year. Okay, and you've made pretty much nothing off of it. So you're looking at working your ass off full time just to get a $30,000 payout for 1 year. And not only that, $30,000 may seem like a lot, but you only get it once. That's it. And then the chances of it getting made, nothing. It just sits there. It sits there on a shelf for 5 years, and you can't do anything else with it.
And really read your contracts. Because publishers that I've worked for before,
they take the rights. They'll take a percentage of that $30,000 because they own part of it.
Oh yeah,
and so you're not even gonna get it.
Yep, you're not gonna get it. Or also in the contracts, who is the people that are pitching this? Who really pay attention to that stuff, because some people are not the people that you want representing you or your story.
That's true.
Put it out like that.
Yeah.
And also like she said, there's so many times one of the publishers I worked with before, stuff was picked up by HBO Max, by Peacock, by all these different things, and then sure enough, a few months later, it's no longer option.
Well, and I'll just mention someone that everybody should know, which is Brian K. Vaughan. Okay, so Brian K. Vaughan started out in comics. This is before he did Lost. This is before any of his other stuff that he was well known for. So he had Why the Last Man, that was also made, and he had Paper Girls. Okay, so he did all of these that got optioned and went into series. Okay, so Lost was not a comic, so that was just an example of who he was.
Yes.
So he was very prominent in comics, right? So he leaves comics and he goes into entertainment because now he's producing Why the Last Man and Paper Girls and all this stuff, and he's got some heat to his name. But they both fail, not because they're not good, but because, number one, he got fucked over while doing Why the Last Man by the streamer who put it out. And Paper Girls just never gained an audience. Like, it wasn't advertised well enough, it wasn't marketed. Like, for whatever reason, it just didn't catch on. So now he's sitting there with 2 failed series underneath his belt, and he is literally thinking to himself, like, no one's gonna want to do another one with me because I've had 2 failures. So now he's going back to comics. Now, I've never talked to Brian K. Vaughan. This is all just from people who know.
Hey Brian, if you want to say you're on this channel that's very popular, apparently, would like let's let's talk. I feel like we should interview.
I if you want to clear any of this up if I'm wrong on any of these counts, but yeah. So
you heard it here first.
Yes, but yeah. So he's going back to comics because literally he's doing better in comics than he was in media. So that shit right there should tell you. By the way, that is like the lesser of 2 evils. Like, this is not a good option to go back to comics. That should tell you how hard it is to make it an entertainment.
It's so difficult. And like, as we're talking about this, one thing, I don't know, at this point, if I was really wanting to write stuff and something got optioned, but the deal was shit, and like I wasn't going to make money off of it, I'm like, fine, pay me this much. My name is in the title. So it's like, let's say I have a comic called Shattered. Fine. If it's a TV show, it's a movie, it's Shattered by Ruth Ann Thompson. Like, literally, like,
even better, it should be Ruth Ann Thompson's Shattered.
Yeah, exactly. Put your name in the content. So if it does do well, great. Even if it doesn't, your name is out there. It's like that, like...
Are you talking about something like, I don't know, like maybe Tim Burton?
What?
Tim Burton doesn't own any of his own properties.
No.
All the studios own it.
Yes.
His name just gets slapped on everything. And
but
he makes the money.
It's so smart because you know what name we know? Tim Burton. That is, you want your name to be a household name. So like whatever you do, just make sure, like no matter how shit the money is, get your name in there. The money can come later.
Right.
The money could even come, like going back to the influencer thing, the name could then come back to your social media versus like, you could be like, this is what's so messed up. You could make more money being an influencer on social media than writing a comic book.
Absolutely accurate. And also, by the way, if you've watched a superhero movie lately, any of them, all the comic book creators are in the special thanks section all the way at the very end after everybody is done.
Fuck you.
Where nobody has stuck around.
That's where I'm putting my F-bomb this episode. Is like,
you
on that. Oh, that makes me so mad.
Yeah. And not only that, but like I always stick around for the special thanks, and
oh, absolutely.
And
not just for the button.
Half the people aren't mentioned that worked on the book. Like, they have been forgotten about, and I swear to God, I'll see it on social media where it was like, hey, how come this person's not mentioned? It's like they don't even do the research. They don't even do the homework on who to credit properly from comics. It's ridiculous. I remember Mark Waid wasn't credited for one of the last ones, and we know Mark Waid. And so it was one of those really bizarre things where everyone was pinging Mark and was like, why aren't you mentioned? And it was just terrible. It was terrible on all fronts. Everybody gets screwed in comics.
And cheers to that. Everybody gets screwed in comics.
That should be the button on this. Hey, watch Nerd Rage. Everybody gets screwed in comics. Yeah. For those 2 people that are watching right now. I don't know who they are.
Oh, who knows? This will blow up. This is gonna be our it's gonna be our viral thing.
My God, if that's the case, I'm probably gonna lose my job.
Anyways, well, thank you all so much for joining. I actually, these are my favorite Nerd Rages because it just like, it took us just realizing.
It took a turn, man. We started off on Ahsoka and it just like went from there.
And that's one thing I appreciate about Chris is that like we can just talk about stuff, and it's funny, we always go back to the reason that we first started Nerd Rage like 4 years ago, however long it was. No, longer than that. Jeez.
Oh, it's longer.
Like 7 years. However long it's been that we started Nerd Rage. It was a very funny thing where I wanted to start it because Chris is so knowledgeable and so passionate about these things, but nobody knows it because like she doesn't like to talk in front of people. So I was like, but
I'm very introverted.
We'll just drink and put a camera on. It'll be great. And then she's like, this bitch is just so noisy. She just won't stop talking. Let's put a camera on her. And I was like, and then this was born. So
yes.
This is a much more laid back one. We will have more stuff. As she said, she's going to be interviewing. I think we should interview Mark Waid as well. We can talk about that later.
For sure.
But make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. We will have the Facebook up and running hopefully soon. I don't know what
We'll figure it out.
I just technology in me. It hates me.
Almost spilled that drink.
I wasn't gonna say anything because it was off camera.
Almost spilled this drink. That would have been a disaster. Anyway, so next week though, you're not.
So next week, I'm going to be at Dragon Con. Speaking of cons that are happening next week, I'll be at Dragon Con, so we'll be coming straight from my hotel room for next week, and we'll talk about Ahsoka. There'll be other stuff to talk about, I am sure.
Yes.
Who knows? I might even have more stuff to rage about when it comes to terrible convention planning. I don't know. Dragon Con does pretty well. Dragon Con knows exactly what it is, though. Like,
see if you can interview some people while you're there.
Oh yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Hey, you want me to, for all those famous people following this channel, you want me to interview you?
Paul Jenkins will be there.
I love that man so
I
much.
know.
Paul Jenkins, I love you. That's, yeah. You know
He
what?
has yet to be on this show, which is.
No, well, no, he did do a panel.
He
did a panel with us
we
about,
did do a thing.
which was so sweet because he can't get angry. Remember, he's like, I'm
True.
sorry, it was called nerd rage. You need to be more frustrated about it. But then he just gave us so much magic.
It was how they like butchered the Wolverine origin story.
Yes, which he wrote. Actually, we should
Talk about getting screwed.
Yeah,
in
right.
comics.
Speaking of, did we film that?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, so like go
It's
back
in
and
our
watch that.
archives.
I want
It's
to
there.
like watch
It's
it.
there.
There's a couple magic moments that when I interview you, Paul Jenkins at Dragon Con, we'll touch on because it's still he still has that magic of comic books, that still love, because so many of us are very jaded when it comes to comic books. But like even as a writer, there are writers, there are creators out there that are still so passionate and have so much heart for this industry. Like that's why I'm still involved right there. I found you. That's it.
Yep.
All right, so until next week, and I'll see you guys for Tuesdays, Ruse Day Tuesday. We'll see what it is.
Yeah.
I've been watching more. I've been more watching. Now I'm obsessed with Superman because I need a Superman in my life. I think that's where we're at.
Don't we all?
Don't we all? But we make sure to like, subscribe. Like Chris said, we do have our newsletter that's exclusively on Substack. So go to our links for Substack, subscribe to that so you can get those newsletter. And there's going to be so many more podcasts and stuff coming your way. But thanks for joining for this Sunday fun day of us just like drinking Aperol Spritz and chatting about the industry. I'll see you next week.